Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a look at something pretty fundamental to the well-being of millions in the U.S.
Right.
How the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, is actually, run and kept on track.
Yeah, specifically within the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Exactly. And we've got a fascinating source here, haven't we?
We do. It's a performance work statement for what's called a blanket purchase agreement, or BPA.
Okay.
Think of it as the really detailed plan for how the USDA ensures SNAP not only gets to the people who need it, but does it effectively, responsibly.
Right.
It kind of gives you a real sense of the sheer scale and, honestly, the complexity involved in running a national program like this.
Scale is definitely the word. I mean, SNAP provides crucial food benefits to families with limited incomes.
Yeah.
It's just a massive undertaking.
It really is. And it's overseen by the USDA's Food and Nutrition Service, FNS.
All operating under the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008. So, okay, we're talking federal level policy here, big picture stuff, but the actual delivery happens more locally, right, at the state level.
That's a really key point, yeah. While FNS provides the federal dollars, sets the guidelines, offers support.
The oversight.
Right, the oversight. But the day-to-day administration, that's handled by 53 state SNAP agencies.
53, so that's...
All 50 states, plus Washington, D.C., Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Gotcha.
And interestingly, this document even sort of hints that Puerto Rico might become a state SNAP agency under this agreement down the line.
Huh. So that state-level approach allows for flexibility,
Yeah.
adapting to local conditions.
Exactly. Different states, different needs, different contexts. It lets the program adapt.
Okay, so FNS sets the overall direction, the rules, the money, and the states figure out the best way to actually implement it on the ground.
You got it.
But it's more than just getting benefits out the door, isn't it?
Yeah.
I noticed a mention of SNAP Ed.
Yes. The SNAP Nutrition, Education, and Obesity Prevention Grant Program.
SNAP Ed.
FNS oversees that, too. It funds state initiatives focused on, well, promoting healthier food choices.
Yeah.
Education, community programs, that sort of thing.
So it's holistic. Not just food security, but nutrition, too.
Absolutely. It reflects this recognition that, addressing food insecurity really goes hand in hand with encouraging better nutrition.
Makes sense.
And underpinning all of this, FNS is really committed to using data, evidence, analysis to make smart decisions.
Which is probably why this kind of technical support is so vital.
Exactly. Especially when, new processes, new technologies are always coming online. You need that ongoing support.
Which brings us right back to this blanket purchase agreement, the EPA. It sounds like that's the mechanism for actually getting that expertise in.
That's precisely it.
So maybe break it down. In simple terms, what is a BPA in this context?
Okay, yeah. It's essentially a master agreement. FNS sets it up with several pre-qualified contractors who can provide specific services when needed.
Like an approved list of experts on call.
Kinda, yeah. And this specific one is a multi-award agreement, meaning FNS isn't tied to just one contractor. They can pick and choose based on the specific task.
Okay. And how long does this run for?
The plan is up to 5 years. There's an initial 12-month base period, and then FNS has the option to extend it for 4 more 12-month periods.
5 years total, potentially. And there's a cap on spending.
Yep, $25 million over that maximum 5 years, and that's exclusively for FNS to use for these specific support services.
And the main goal is?
The main aim is really to secure targeted help, technical assistance, analysis, training, anything needed to continuously improve how SNAP is administered and overseen.
Okay, so it's like having a team of specialists ready to jump in and help FNS fine-tune the program.
Pretty much.
And the document highlights 4 key areas where this support is focused: program administration, payment accuracy, program integrity, and program oversight.
Those are the big ones, yeah.
They sound like the pillars, really, keeping the program running smoothly and correctly.
They absolutely are. And, the level of detail in the scope of work section of this document, it really shows the practical steps involved in actually doing that.
So it gets into the how.
Definitely. Contractors working under FNS guidance will be using a whole range of methods. We're talking data analytics, deep research, strategic planning.
Business process reengineering, I saw that mentioned.
Yeah, looking at how things are done and if they can be done better. Information sharing, training, facilitation. It's all geared towards a constant drive for, better efficiency and effectiveness.
Okay, let's dig into some of those specific tasks then. The first one mentioned is program and policy analysis. What does that actually look like?
So that's where these external experts would come in and help FNS really thoroughly examine and evaluate different program ideas or policy proposals.
Before they roll them out.
Exactly. The goal is to understand the potential upsides, the downsides, anticipate the impacts. Basically, give FNS really well-reasoned recommendations so they can make the best possible decisions.
So informed decision-making.
Right, and it might even involve helping with the practical side, the actual implementation of new policies once they're decided on.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You want to kind of stress test these ideas before they go live nationwide.
Precisely.
The next area mentioned is technical assistance. That sounds more like supporting the people on the ground, the ones running the program day to day.
You're spot on. This is about providing hands-on support directly to the SME and SMP Ed agencies, federal, state, local levels.
Helping them implement things, develop resources.
Exactly. Developing, communicating, implementing program projects, resources, policies. The real aim here is to empower those agencies, build their skills, deepen their understanding, bridge any knowledge gaps they might have.
How do they do that? Webinars, training.
It can be all sorts of things, presentations, webinars, yeah, but also direct on-site assistance if needed.
Boots on the ground support.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And what's interesting here is that FNS might also ask the contractors to evaluate how effective that technical assistance actually is.
Closing the loop, making sure the help is actually helping.
Exactly. Ensuring it's making a difference and figuring out where maybe more support is needed.
Okay. And then we have training, facilitation, and collaboration. That sounds absolutely critical for a program this complex, operating across so many different agencies and levels of government.
It really is. This part focuses specifically on boosting the knowledge and skills of everyone involved through targeted training programs.
But also bringing people together.
Yes, that's the facilitation and collaboration piece. Creating opportunities for people from different federal, state, local agencies, even other partners to connect.
To share best practices, learn from each other.
Exactly. Share best practices, exchange guidance, build stronger working relationships. The thinking is, by fostering that kind of collaboration, you can unlock greater efficiencies, find better solutions to common challenges.
How does that happen? Meetings? Online platforms?
Could be any of those. In-person meetings, virtual sessions, developing shared training materials, whatever works best for the situation.
Got it. The final big area under the scope of work is data analytics, visualizations, and tools. Data is everywhere now, so this must be huge for S&P.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. FNS relies heavily on data to get deep insights into how both SNAP and SNAP-Ed are doing.
To see what's working, what isn't.
Precisely. Identify strengths, challenges, gaps, opportunities for improvement, all that good stuff. It helps inform their decisions, maybe even predict future trends.
So what are the contractors doing here?
Yeah.
Crunching numbers.
They'll be assisting with the really detailed analysis of this data, potentially using, advanced analytics, business intelligence tools.
Or making sense of it all.
Right. And a really key aspect here is being able to translate that complex data, making it clear, easy to understand, even for people who aren't data scientists.
Visualizations, maybe. Charts and graphs.
Yeah, visualizations are specifically mentioned. They might also be involved in developing new tools or templates to help manage or analyze data. And they need to be able to work within FNS's existing data infrastructure.
Their data lake, as the document calls it.
Their data lake, exactly.
Okay, so to make all this happen, effectively the analysis, the TA, the training, the data work, you need the right people, the right skill.
You absolutely do. And the document gets pretty specific about key personnel and the expertise the contractors need to bring.
Who are they looking for?
Well, leading the charge, there's the project director role. This person needs a really solid track record.
Like what kind of experience?
At least 10 years supporting or evaluating SNP administration and oversight specifically, plus strong project management credentials, maybe a certification, and really good communication skills, like 7+ years facilitating discussions, writing reports. An MA degree is preferred too.
So a seasoned leader. Anyone else specific?
Yes, a technical writer. Someone experienced in helping write and edit documents so they meet all the content standards, government style guides, that sort of thing. They're looking for a BSBA degree or equivalent experience and at least 5 years doing relevant work.
Okay. And beyond those specific roles, what about the contracting firms themselves? What kind of broader expertise do they need to have?
There are several core competencies FNS considers essential. First off, they need real, demonstrable experience working directly with SNP or, similar federally funded human services programs that are state administered.
So they understand the landscape.
Exactly. They also need a deep, current understanding of SNP policy and all the program requirements across those 4 key areas we talked about: admin, accuracy, integrity, oversight.
Makes sense. What else?
Exceptional communication skills are a must, both written and oral. Being able to explain complex technical stuff in plain language, adapting their tone for different audiences, presenting effectively, it's all crucial.
And following the rules. Style guides.
Yep, they need to be skilled in writing according to the U.S. Government Printing Office Style Manual and the USDA's own style guide. And very importantly, making sure everything meets accessibility standards under Section 508.
We'll come back to 508. What about their service offerings?
Experience with providing integrated consulting services is highly valued. Things like strategic planning, technical assistance, business process improvement, showing they can offer a suite of support.
And working with others.
Also key, experience in building strong partnerships with diverse stakeholders, state agencies, federal partners, maybe community groups, and again, that ability to make technical information understandable for non-technical folks.
It sounds like they're looking for really well-rounded, experienced teams, not just individuals, but firms with deep capabilities.
Definitely. And there are a couple of other requirements for the firms themselves.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, the document specifies that most of the work needs to be done by their own in-house staff.
Ah, so they want firms with internal capacity, not just subcontracting everything out.
Seems that way, yeah. They also need a strong grasp of federal acquisition requirements, the FERR, which governs how government contracts work.
Standard government contracting stuff.
Right. And interestingly, the team they propose should ideally have a history of working together successfully for at least 6 months before the proposal.
So FNS is looking for established, cohesive teams, not just a collection of resumes thrown together.
That seems to be the goal, yeah. Less ramp-up time, maybe more synergy from day one.
Now, something really important in any government contract, especially with data and processes involved, is intellectual property and knowledge transfer. How does this BPA handle that?
FNS is very, very clear on this. They want to retain all the knowledge generated during this contract, period.
Meaning?
Meaning no tools or processes developed under this BPA can be proprietary to the contractor. Everything created belongs to FNS, essentially. It has to be readily accessible and transferable to FNS and anyone else they authorize.
So the contractor can't just develop a cool tool and then try to license it back to the government or others.
Nope. It's government property developed with government funds. Non-disclosure agreements might also be required for sensitive information.
And what about talking about the work, like press releases?
Strictly controlled. All deliverables are FNS's intellectual property. Contractors need explicit written permission from FNS before they can publicly share anything about the work, including in their own press releases or marketing materials.
Okay, full control rests with FNS. What about the actual stuff created during the contract? The reports, the software, the processes.
The document requires the contractor to meticulously record and disclose all intellectual property specific to this contract.
That sounds comprehensive.
It is. It covers inventions, any software developed, databases created, lessons learned documents, all the training materials, source code, new processes, methodologies, basically any IP that comes out of this work.
And making sure FNS actually gets it.
Yes, that's the knowledge transfer part. When the contract or a specific task order ends, the contractor is responsible for transferring or providing seamless access to all of this information to FNS.
So handing over the keys.
And more. They also need to make sure their key personnel are available for discussions with FNS to help facilitate a really smooth and complete transfer of knowledge, making sure FNS staff understand how to use the tools, the findings, everything.
That makes perfect sense. FNS wants to ensure they get lasting value, full ownership, full access to everything developed with taxpayer money, both during the contract and after it ends.
Exactly. It's about building institutional knowledge within FNS.
Okay. Finally, you mentioned it earlier, but let's touch on Section 508 compliance again. Why is that specifically called out?
Right. Section 508. It's a critical set of federal standards ensuring that electronic and information technology things developed, procured, maintained, or used by the federal government is accessible to people with disabilities.
So websites, documents, software.
Exactly. In the context of this SNAP BPA, it means all training materials, any websites, documents, tools, any products or services developed by the contractors. They must be designed and delivered in a way that's accessible to everyone.
Regardless of ability.
Regardless of ability, it's fundamentally about inclusivity and ensuring equal access to information and resources for FNS staff, state agency partners, and potentially the public, depending on the deliverable.
So it's about baking accessibility right into the core of how the program is supported and improved.
Absolutely. It's not an afterthought. It's a requirement from the ground up.
Wow. Well, this has truly been a revealing deep dive into the, frankly, intricate world of administering and overseeing a program as vital as SNAP.
It really underscores the significant thought, the level of expertise, and just the continuous effort that goes into making sure SNP operates effectively, operates with integrity.
And actually reaches the individuals and families it's designed to support.
Exactly. It's not simple.
No, it definitely isn't. You really come away with a much greater appreciation for the sheer complexity, the layers, the dedication involved in making a program of this massive scale function day in and day out.
For sure.
So thinking about all this, the focus on data, the drive for continuous improvement, the technical support, what do you see as maybe some of the biggest ongoing challenges for FNS, for the state agencies, in making sure SNP really hits the mark and effectively serves those in need?
That's a big question.
And how crucial is that constant cycle of evaluation and adaptation for a program with such a wide reach, touching so many lives? It definitely leaves you with a lot to consider.
It certainly does.
Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.